the Banter podcast. Once again online and once again with Mr. Brennan Kirkpatrick. Kyle Pritchard was here last week. I was here last week, Korey Moore. But Brennan is back. The virtual format is back. Boys, how do you feel?
We're pretty good, man. We're rolling. I'm glad to be back. Sorry I had to miss last week, but we're here back at Penn State University, repping the hockey jersey today. It's okay. But yeah, ready to talk some ball. So
It's okay. We had LeBron, and Kyle was able to fill like an hour worth of just rambling about NFL. So
that was a good discussion. I enjoyed it.
Kyle brought a lot of knowledge in.
We're good, yeah.
It was very good.
Thank you very much. And I just wanted to say it feels like I've lived 1,000 lives since we've done this virtually. So this is going to be quite an experience.
Have you guys done this show from either of the places that you're currently in right now?
No. This is a new spot for me. So
I did do this show from this room like a couple of times in season 3, but it's been a minute. So we're
I forget all of season 3. I remember the only thing I remember about season 3 was that video the one video I actually edited where we're saying the NFL should go to Australia. That's the only thing I remember. Still hasn't happened, by the way.
Ready?
A year and a half ago now, bro.
Look, it's a new era. It's a new situation.
Hey, well,
we're
talking about Australia. We'll talk about international play. I mean, let's actually segue into a weird start for today's show. But let's start with what's already happened today, which is the NBA Berlin game. The Grizzlies and the Magic went head-to-head. Huge 30-point game for Jaren Jackson Jr. and a loss against the Magic, where all 3 of the big stars, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, and Desmond Bane, were available. They played. The Magic look like they're back on track after those injuries early in the season, but they got the win in Berlin. Weird picks for the teams in that international showcase.
Yeah, that's definitely weird. Like, you're looking at these two teams. Orlando obviously is having a solid year in a weaker Eastern Conference. I don't know why you're having Memphis go overseas.
I think theoretically you're having Ja Morant, but he's still out. He's probably going to get traded now. I mean, what it's looking like.
Like that showcase to the world for Ja Morant. Like, hey, this guy's about to go to a contender, and this is everything you need to know about.
Do either of you know if he was on the plane? Because he's been with the team, but did he go to Berlin?
I don't think so. I really doubt that he at this point.
Yeah,
I got no idea.
So he had a press conference at the Memphis facilities the other day. People were interviewing him, and he was just super dismissive of why do you think I'm going to get traded? It's like, what do you mean, why do you think you're going to get traded? You have not played basketball, and when you have, you've been shooting 3 for 17 from the field. I don't understand why you would not get traded at this point.
Shooting tour dates.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, to be fair, I talked about this before the show. I haven't really kept up with the NBA that much. Maybe the standings here or there, see what position the Pacers are in to get the first overall pick. But that's about it. I know Orlando's having a pretty good year. The Eastern Conference, though, is just weird in general, I think. I mean, Detroit going first, but first in the East, yeah.
And there's no
disrespect to Detroit, but I feel like going into the year, the Cade Cunningham is great, and I'll talk about him later.
This is pretty much the same. Sorry, this is pretty much the same Pistons team from last year. All things considered. And they were a 6th seed then, I think, and now they're
just progressing, exponentially, and that's what happened with teams like Houston. I mean, they did that before even getting Kevin Durant, and that's what OKC did a few years ago. I mean, sure, they had Chris Paul to show them what was good, but then they were bad, and then they got really good. That happens, and the Spurs are doing it now too. So it's not abnormal for that to occur, especially when you have guys that are healthy and you have, your star, Cade Cunningham, is healthy too. Because you look at other teams in the East who are doing well, and it's why are they doing well? It's because they have, a roster outside of Boston, they're missing their superstar, but Jaylen Brown is just running that team to being the number 2 rated offense in the NBA right now. So, I mean, they're all staying good, and Cleveland is falling off, Orlando was falling off when they didn't have their guys, and they're coming back slowly. So that's just kind of how it is, But I think we're going to see in the second half of the season who's going to be good, and I feel like teams like the 76ers are going to fall off a little. Miami probably will fall off a little bit, as they.
No, man, dude,
I think
Miami.
Fine for the rest of the year. I mean, that core is just solid. If Brandon Ingram, stays healthy, because he's had some injury concerns too, but that Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, like just height duo is really solid, and RJ Barrett's becoming a pretty solid scorer too. So
I just don't know. I mean, because like you're looking at the standings, I think Cleveland's bound to bounce back at some point. They were my pick to come out of the East to begin this season, and I mean, obviously, haven't lived up to it. And then the Knicks are still hanging around there.
Sure. I mean, with Tyler Hero back in the lineup too, I understand the thought that he would bounce back and they would be doing well, and they're doing average all year. But it's like the fact that they've been able to rely on Norman Powell like for most of the year is just like it doesn't feel sustainable. Even if Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo are going to be available and they're going to be good.
They just don't. Miami just does not have a player that you think can take you to the promised land at all right now. Like I like Bam Adebayo, right? He's a solid player. He's definitely not a guy. Yeah, and they have a lot of players that you like Norman Powell, like Bam Adebayo, like I don't know Wiggins as well. But like none of them are going to coalesce into anything more than him. I mean. As we've seen the last 4 years, time is a flat circle. They always end up as like the 8 or the 9 seed, and they probably make it through the play-in because they're going to be better than everyone in that play-in. But then once they actually hit Boston or the Knicks or someone like that,
they're going to. It's just always a very well-run team. I mean, Eric Spoelstra is a veteran coach, an NBA champion head coach. It's very hard for a team like that is run by a guy like him to not at least make it through the play-in in the Eastern Conference. If he was in the West, it might fall apart. But guys like him and typically guys like Rick Carlisle are going to be able to bring your team up to just a play-in level, no matter
at least mediocrity.
And I understand Carlisle is dealing with a very, very rough set of injuries, rough set of things.
It's fine.
You guys grabbed a win against the Celtics the other day.
We did, and I'm checking the Eastern Conference standings here. We're only one game behind Washington for second to last right now, and I'm not loving that. We need to keep losing so we can grab first overall pick. And then come back and make it back to the NBA Finals. I do not want Washington having higher odds than us. They just got Trae Young, though. I mean, maybe. Oh, he's out.
He's out. He's still injured.
Okay.
He's out. He's out for a little bit.
Out for a bit.
That's not good. That's not good for Indiana.
Can we discuss this Trae Young trade? Because I'm somehow even less involved in the NBA than Brennan is right now. But I saw that happen, and I was like, Trae Young at the very least you would think would give you more than one first round pick, and they got 2 okay players out of Trae Young, and that was it. And I was like, there's just no way that makes any sense to me. I mean, if you guys want to explain it.
And I think he is a little bit overrated as a player.
Maybe at this point.
Maybe the return. It is kind of crazy. He does have a pretty good PR team with the way his shot selection, and he doesn't have a great shooting efficiency. Correct me if I'm wrong. But
he does not. That's absolutely not his thing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the biggest thing with especially guards in the NBA is if they have a high salary, then you want them to be as consistent as possible. That's why you're looking at them moving guys like John Morant right now, and why a guy like Russell Westbrook, even though he has consistently had solid numbers even through his older age, has become just like a minimum contract guy and things like that whenever he was with Denver and now he's in Sacramento. And that just happens to guards in the NBA if people, for whatever reason, around the league don't think that they can keep consistent performance. And Trae Young is starting to have injury concerns. The Hawks they've been having playoff concerns. And if I'm the Atlanta Hawks, very excited about Jalen Johnson. He's probably going to be an all-star reserve this year. So it's like I understand from their standpoint why they move away from Trae Young. And then more importantly, everyone else in the league understands why they need to move off of him too. So a lot of people, from what league officials were saying, it seems like they were saying that they need to take more in, to take Trae Young's contract, which happens.
Sure, I guess the contract is probably more than half the reason for this.
Unless you can find like the Sacramento Kings of the world that take on a Zach LaVine for absolutely no reason, like that take the Zach LaVines and DeMar DeRozans, and we're running out of those in the league, so especially with the second apron rules. So it's just very tough to be an inconsistent guard, and you find a place like Washington where I guess you can be, a vet, where maybe you can pair with a guy like Alex Sarr, a guy like Reza Shea, and figure that out. So, but as we move into the meat of the show, this is mostly going to be a very prediction-based episode, especially with Kyle's Pittsburgh Steelers that he's wearing. So as we move out of the NBA into more prediction of guys and stuff, and we'll come back for All-Stars in the NBA. Let's start really fast, guys, with some game predictions in the NBA. There's a few key games coming up. We just saw the Thunder defeat the Spurs. So now, tonight, Thunder are going to take on the Rockets. And then after that, the Rockets have to play a back-to-back against the Timberwolves. And then the Timberwolves will have to do a back-to-back against the Spurs. So those are the three big games that I want to talk. So let's start. Kyle, then Brennan. Thunder versus Rockets. Thunder at Houston tonight. Both of them just had big bounce-back games. Thunder beat the Spurs. Rockets breaking their 4-game losing streak against the Bulls. Kyle, go ahead.
I'm gonna go Oklahoma City. They've kind of been a little shaky recently, but I think they're gonna keep tearing through the schedule. Good win against the Heat. Good win against the Spurs. They're gonna keep rolling, I think.
I'm gonna actually go Houston. I'm gonna support Korey's squad here. I like them being at home in this one. Thunder struggling a little bit. Houston is still a very good basketball team, having some great seasons out of guys like KD as always. Alperen Sengun's having a monster year too. Give me the Rockets at home.
And we'll bounce it right back to you, Brennan, with Houston on the second night of the back-to-back. Alperen Sengun has been having some injury concerns. Kevin Durant just being old. We don't know who will play in the second night of the back-to-back, but that'll be Houston versus Minnesota. Houston again hosting. Brennan, who do you think's got that game tomorrow?
It's like you're trying to tell me to pick Minnesota, but I actually do like Minnesota. Anthony Edwards is playing well. It's just another solid team. Don't really like teams coming off of back-to-back in any sport really other than baseball. Give me Minnesota.
And Kyle?
I will take Minnesota as well for much of the same reasons. They're still playing well.
2 losses for the Rockets.
The back-to-back is just gonna hurt them, I think. Well, after playing a good team in Oklahoma City.
We'll go one more back-to-back then. Minnesota is going to take on the Spurs. They're traveling to San Antonio right from Houston. Kyle, who do you think's going to win that game on Saturday night?
You know what? I will take the back-to-back. I'll take Minnesota again because I think they're a very young team, and I think that definitely helps on the back-to-backs.
Third seed San Antonio, 4th seed Minnesota right now.
Not because of the back-to-back. I am going San Antonio. That team is Victor Wembanyama, dude, is not from this planet. He's not going to be from this planet for years and years to come. It's the only team right now that I can see taking down the Thunder in the Western Conference to make it to the NBA championship. Sorry, Korey, about the Rockets. No, they're playing well, but when you get a guy like Victor Wembanyama in there and you build the pieces around him, a bunch of other great guys having great seasons in San Antonio, they're finally starting to come together. They're going to be tough to beat. I'm going to pick San Antonio.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that great NBA discussion. Obviously, I'm taking Houston in both of their games. I will probably take San Antonio against Minnesota as well. But though they are one of the most electric teams, the Timberwolves are just a super electric team and fun to watch all through the year. So those will be good games on this weekend slate starting on Thursday night. But let's move into the meat of the show here after that NBA intro. We're going to the NFL. We've got 9 head coaching openings. I know you guys actually have predictions on who's probably going to take those, and I'll let you guys do those predictions, But first, let's just talk a discussion, and Brennan, I'll throw it to you. Like, obviously, Baltimore, Pittsburgh looking like really good, job openings. But who do you think are kind of the best openings? If I'm a coach, best places to be. I mean, I'm going to lead. Just throw an idea out there for you. I really like the Atlanta position because they're just not that bad of a team. So, what are you thinking? What are the best openings out here, Brennan?
Well, I feel like you kind of just stole my answers there, Korey.
But that is the right answer. That is the right answer.
They're the right answers. Baltimore and Atlanta. I mean, these two teams, obviously, kind of different situations with Baltimore. You have Lamar Jackson. You have the quarterback. Derrick Henry's getting a little bit older. He's still very productive. That defense is elite. Took a little bit of a step back this year, because of some injuries. I think they'll be right back in that same spot next year. You're looking at the AFC North. The Browns are going to be improved, I think, if they hire the right guy. It's the Cleveland Browns. Can't really say that in confidence, though. I don't know what the Bengals are going to do. Joe Burrow, obviously, is a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, but does he have the roster around him to compete? And then the Pittsburgh Steelers, they just need to tank at this point, get a high draft pick, a couple of them even, to be able to get back to relevance now that they're out of the Mike Tomlin era. It's a good opportunity with Baltimore. And then Atlanta, you're going into a weak division. The Panthers, while they're on the up and up, won the division with 8 wins this season, had an under 500 record. Atlanta, that offense is going to be amazing to work with if you can get Michael Penix, the mechanics down with him. Because you got Bijan, you got Drake London. That O-line is very, very good. You have the weapons there. They need to hire a head coach who can get the most out of Penix, and if they do, I mean, Atlanta is going to be competing for NFC South titles for years to come.
I will say that's a huge if with Penix, especially since I saw today.
Oh, I agree.
That this season was his 5th ever season-ending injury, counting college. So lots of injury concerns, lots of rough things. But Kyle, I'll let you talk about your Pittsburgh Steelers and anyone else you want to talk about. But I also kind of want to highlight the Arizona job, if you can do that for me as well.
Well, first of all, with Pittsburgh, I honestly do agree with what Brennan just said. I mean, my entire life, they have never had an under 500 record. And for good and for worse, right? Because obviously you're always going to be in the mix of things. You might win a playoff game like he's done in the last 15 or so years, Mike Tomlin. Obviously, can I just go out and say I have nothing but respect for that man for the whole 19 years he was the head coach of the Steelers. One of the greatest dudes to ever coach the game. Will probably go down. I think he's 9th all time in wins as a NFL coach. So I have all my respect to you, but I think it was about time for a change. But I really would struggle to think that they would ever want to blow it all up like the way Brennan said. As much as I agree that that's what they should do, the Rooneys are very, very complacent in being like 7, 8, 9, 10 wins, never really straying up and below that. So it'll be interesting to see who exactly will fill that role. I have a prediction. I think we'll probably go down the line between both me and Brennan to discuss that. But I'm really, really excited for a new era. If you would have told me at the beginning of last year that both the Penn State head coach and the Pittsburgh head coach would be gone, I would have said you're crazy, because they both had been there for at least a decade, and now here we are. But you wanted to bring up the Arizona job. I think it's quite interesting. You have a really good player in Trey McBride, their tight end. You can I think he was a reception machine. It was a fantasy machine. I forget exactly who had it in our league, but it's a very interesting job. More particularly because I wonder if the head coach who gets in there is going to have a decision on what happens to Kyler Murray, because they benched him. What was it? I think it was Shane. No, not Shane Steichen. Jonathan Gannon. Sorry, I was thinking the other Eagles coordinator. Jonathan Gannon was the head coach, and then very, very clearly at some point said, "Okay, I'd rather just play Jacoby Brissett," which in the year 2025 is really not. It's a pretty damning thing to say to Kyler Murray, but it really is interesting to me to say, like, okay, are we gonna, with our top 4 pick in this year's draft, maybe consider a quarterback, or at the very least trade him off and maybe hope for some decent backup who played well, maybe like a Malik Willis or something like that. It's really going to be interesting because that really is the focal point right now. After 4 or 5 years of Kyler Murray playing decent football, he's got benched halfway through the year, and that's kind of the more eye-opening part for me. I wouldn't say it's one of the better jobs. I think you spoke the words out of my mouth, though. I think Atlanta, after the Baltimore job, is probably the best one to win now. I think really you just implement the head coach and maybe the both main coordinators. I think you could probably win that division with how bad it's been the last few years. But yeah, this is gonna be an exciting little conversation about to have.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say about Arizona, and maybe this is kind of a hot take, but if you do think the head coach is going to kind of guide whether or not Kyler Murray stays in the organization, I'm like not too against that job if I'm a John Harbaugh. I mean, Kyler Murray is a potentially very good running quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, in the past, he has been, you know.
Can I stop you?
With the
Yeah.
Giants.
Yeah, John Harbaugh signed with the Giants today.
He did today?
It was last night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or last night, whatever.
Yeah, last night. Okay.
Sorry
so
to
So what about
Brennan
that? So what
parade,
about that job, guys?
I thought it's a good hire. I like it a lot for the Giants. Look, the big knock on Harbaugh is very similar to the knock on Tomlin. He just doesn't have the playoff experience in recent years. It's 3 playoff games in the last 3 playoff wins rather in the last 11 seasons. It might just be games actually. I don't know if that sounds right because they did struggle with Flacco at the end there. Haven't really been consistent with Lamar. That might be right, but either 3 playoff games, 3 playoff wins. It's one of them. And the Giants own the 5th pick in the draft this year, so you're getting a lot of capital off of that. Harbaugh can come in, get his guy right away. And then if you're talking about that offense and especially that defense too, that defensive line is one of the best units in the league. He's got pieces to work with. Jackson Dart, Malik Neighbors, Cam Scadaboo, Abdul Carter, Dexter, like those are 5 big names in the NFL. Could all be really, really good, potentially top 10 players at their positions in their primes. I think it's a great job for Harbaugh, a big change of scenery for him. Gets out of Baltimore, gets to rebuild, or kind of shape this Giants team to compete in the NFC East. It's an interesting hire. I like it for him. I think it's going to play out well. I just really interested to see what changes he makes, who he brings in as his OC, his DC, what other players he adds to that roster. Because at the end of the day, that's all that's going to matter. But I think he has the core pieces in New York to build a successful team.
Yeah, and to kind of continue on there, I think it really is it's good for Harbaugh. I think it's really, really good for the Giants because I think their last 2 head coaches were Brian Daboll, who won you a playoff game, but at the end of the day was not really that good for you. And Joe Judge, who, I mean, we could talk about Joe Judge all day. Neither of those head coaches had prior head coaching experience, at least in pro football, until they got to the Giants. And now you're getting a guy who just was the head coach for 18 years for a pretty good, all things considered, franchise in the last 2 decades. It really is a stabilizer, I feel like, for that organization that has gone through so much turmoil in the last 5 or so years. They've just been completely losing despite all of the great players that Brennan mentioned. I mean, it's just been coaching malpractice, for lack of a better word, for the last 4 or so years. So it's going to be interesting to see how and I would just also assume that he would probably take over, Todd Monken as the offensive coordinator at Baltimore over there. I would assume a lot of the guys from Baltimore's staff is going to probably come over to the Giants. So it is going to be interesting to see how that puzzle piece will fit. I think it's going to fit pretty well. Maybe not immediately, but I think eventually they're going to start winning some games here.
Yeah. So let's keep filling those positions then, because that's one down, obviously. And then let's move into, do you want to start on the less appetizing, I suppose, jobs, or do you want to start on the top of the third? You want to start on the bottom?
Yeah, if you just want to throw one name out there, I got somebody. So.
All right. Well, Kyle, I'll let you pick where you want to go first because you seem to have an opinion on who was kind of the worst job opening, and then Brennan will let you bounce into that.
I would say the worst one right now would probably have to be Cleveland. Because it's just, I mean, you're getting a good defense, right?
Even then, I still feel like it's a pretty decent
It's
opening.
okay.
Like, I feel
Maybe
like all these
Arizona would
head
be worse.
coaching vacancies have a lot of pros. I'd say a lot of them have pros that outweigh the cons, honestly, in all of these head coaching vacancies. I probably agree with you with the Browns. Maybe you could make an argument with the Dolphins being worse just because of
that was
where
my
they
second
are
one. Yeah, that was my second
franchise. I'd maybe even argue a little bit more towards Miami. But yeah, all of them have some perks.
Well, let's hear both of those. Browns and the Dolphins. Who do you think are going to get those?
Okay, so this was the only one I kind of had two answers for. I said Mike McDaniel. I mean, I still think there is some juice left for him in a head coaching spot, more so than other people. But honestly, I don't think he would mind being an offensive coordinator somewhere, if that is Cleveland, if that is somewhere else. But he had a few good seasons at the beginning of his career with Miami. But another name I threw out for them, honestly, if you wanted to like the Cowboys did last year with Schottenheimer, if you want to internally just want to hire Jim Schwartz, the current defensive coordinator, after he did such a good job with a completely awful team. I mean, the defense was very good, but I mean, saying the sack record, the single season sack record with Myles Garrett, a lot of I forget their names, but they had two really good rookies who were just terrorizing the front front seven there.
That linebacker was very good. I forget his name, but yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Honestly, I wouldn't be too mad at that, and then you could bring over someone else because very clearly the people in the building at Cleveland obviously understand him and trust him. Obviously, the fate of that is that and I'm almost sure that Stefanski gets a job somewhere else, much like Harbaugh, if he were to come with him in that sort of transition. But personally, I think either of those could work for Cleveland.
For Cleveland, I went a little bit, I guess you could consider a dark horse, but I think he is right now the favorite. I went with Grant Udinski of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's currently their offensive coordinator. He hasn't really gotten a lot of looks so far to be the head coach, but something I did find that was really interesting with Udinski and the Browns. Last time Cleveland, when they hired Stefanski, Cleveland was the only team to reach out to him for a head coaching gig. So far, they're the only team to reach out to Grant Udinski. Maybe there's something there. Maybe it's just what Andrew Berry likes to do. But I think it's a good fit. Udinski, last year in Minnesota, he revitalized Sam Darnold's career. And then this year, he helped Trevor Lawrence throw a career-high 29 touchdowns, led the Jags offense to a 13-4 record. And then, obviously, that playoff game, I mean, Lawrence did throw 2 picks. I don't think that's the offensive coordinator's fault. But I think if you get Udinski in, there's a lot of fun young talent to work around on this offense. Obviously, Shedeur Sanders, Quinshon Judkins when he comes back from his injury. Harold Fannin Jr. proved to be one of the top tight ends in the league in his first season, so he's only going to go up and up from there. It's a fun group to work with. They have a pretty solid O-line, I believe. Just get some wide receivers on the outside. The big question with Udinski, I think, coming in as the head coach, and something he's going to have to answer at some point is, what do you do with Deshaun Watson? Because obviously did not play this year. They have that contract. No team is going to trade for that. So do you put him in a battle with Shedeur Sanders for the starter? I would just it's tough because you're paying this guy, $238 million guaranteed, I believe.
I think it's fully guaranteed, yeah.
Fully guaranteed, yeah. I'd roll with Shedeur if you didn't have this problem, but that's going to be the most interesting thing I think any of the Browns head coaches, whoever they hire, is going to have to do. That's going to be the big storyline coming out of Cleveland. But I really like Udinski getting a chance after he's proved himself with 2 quarterbacks. And who knows, maybe if they roll with Watson, he can revitalize his career just like he did with Darnold.
I especially think if you bring in a first-time head coach like Udinski, especially since he's like a younger guy. I mean, I'm looking at it now; he's only 30 years old. I feel like it's very natural for guys in those positions to kind of respect, the veteran totem pole of a lot of teams. So I do see in a world, like if they hire him, I see a world in which they do try to make it a battle between Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders. And then, but he can probably connect with those younger guys and grow with them if he stays with the organization for a longer period of time. So I could see him starting with that, and and seeing where it goes. Because I feel like that is probably the natural progression as far as like coming into a first time head coaching position. That's kind of what guys seem to do. But I do like the Udinski pick, especially since he hasn't head coached anyone else before. And you have a lot of guys that are candidates for these jobs that, even though they may be running good offenses, good defenses in different places, they have glimpses of them being head coaches, and they're pretty lackluster. So with this, you get a fresh face, and you can see kind of what that does as you try to get a fresh look for the Browns as well. But so as we keep moving, Kyle, you said you wanted to talk about Miami.
Yeah, that was kind of the next job off that, because obviously you have the huge question mark of Tua. I mean, he probably does not stay, but that's going to be so much money. I doubt you trade him. It's going to have to be a release situation. But who I chose for Miami's next head coach is Jeff Hafley who's the defensive coordinator for the Packers. And he did a very good job for the most until the Micah Parsons injury. They did a very, very good job on defense all year. Just very, very sound football, got to the quarterback very fast, just very, very good defense. And the reason also half of why I said this is because the Dolphins actually, I think their new GM was an assistant GM at Green Bay. So I would assume that there's going to be some sort of connection there. Obviously you're going to have, hey, I'm starting a new thing down here. Do you want to join me as a head coach? Like, that was kind of my reasoning for that.
Yeah, I also went with Jeff Hadley, defensive coordinator. A couple different reasons. Personally, in my opinion, I think Miami just needs to blow it up. They're not getting anywhere with Tua. Tyreek Hill is getting older. That defense is getting older. It's just not a good look. I'd get rid of Jalen Waddle. You run it with A-Chain for a couple years while you try and piece together. But I think Jeff Hadley is going to be a perfect bridge head coach for the Dolphins to get them those high draft picks. And then when something else opens up, you kind of roll with him. I'm not a huge fan of Hadley as a head coach, even as a defensive coordinator. He was actually, if you look at the stats of his defenses before and after Micah Parsons, before he got that game Wrecker and Parsons, he was kind of average. Granted, the Packers, they are a very traditional organization like the Steelers. They love to promote from within. They love to get their guys into those positions. I just don't think he was great. But like you said, Kyle, the former assistant or executive from the Packers is now Miami's GM. I think he's going to bring Hadley over with him. I don't necessarily think it's going to be like the best hire in the world, but I think it's the right hire for Miami, where I think they need to go to be able to compete, especially since the emergence of New England right now as a threat in the AFC. Buffalo is always going to be there with Josh Allen, though. Now, two teams in your division that you're looking down the barrel of that gun, like, don't know if you're going to be able to sneak out 4 wins in a year against those two teams. That was a perfect time to blow it up and reset for Miami. I think Hadley's a nice coach to kind of bridge the gap between getting rid of Tua and those older guys on that team, and then bringing in like a younger core that's better for winning football games.
All right, Jeff Hadley going to Miami Dolphins. First time as an NFL head coach. Only head coaching gig before Boston College, losing record and as an NCAA football head coach.
It's mostly Boston College for you too. So
yeah, well, exactly. But I probably agree that's a solid transitional coach. Don't know how long you'll hold on to him if you ever find your footing in Miami. But if you are going to blow it up, that's not a bad person to do it with. Do it with a guy you trust if you've worked with him before, So let me just spitball another one. Let's spice some things up. Let's go for the Baltimore job and see what we're thinking. Brennan, I'll go to you first.
All right. So I went with Jesse Minter, the current Chargers defensive quarterback or defensive coordinator. And based on Kyle's reaction, I think he also went there. Again, the Ravens, another organization that I feel like pays a lot of respect to guys that were there in the past or were currently there. Minter was the Ravens defensive coordinator, or not defensive coordinator. He was a defensive coach on the team from 2017 to 2020 before moving out. He knows Baltimore. He's experienced Baltimore. He knows what the fans expect from Baltimore. That defense was shaky at times last year. I think they just need to reset with a different head coach, different coordinator. You go in, you bring in a guy like Minter, whose defense in Los Angeles was phenomenal. There's no reason to blame for that embarrassing performance that was Sunday Night Football last week against the Patriots. I think if he can get those guys, those elite players Baltimore had on that defense back to an elite level, Baltimore's going to be right back into competing for the AFC North and AFC championships for years to come.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll let you figure out your microphone situation there. But I also said Jesse Minter for the Chargers, for the defensive coordinator for the Chargers for the Ravens job. I mean, again, he's been on the staff there, as Brennan said. The expectation is there. And I think, honestly, for how bad the Chargers played against New England, and I kind of expected that on Sunday night, I think the defense played well, all things considered. They only allowed 16 points, which on any other day, if you had, I mean, one of those good offensive linemen, you probably would have been in the game, right? If you had a Joe Alt, if you had a Rashawn Slater, you would have probably been in that game. Obviously, that offensive line is so terrible. So, I mean, they just got Herbert got just destroyed the entire game. They only had the field goal. So, but I think he brings a certain expectation. I mean, he's a champion with, I think, Michigan when they won the national title. So I think it's a solid fit. Yeah, I think, and he had the Chargers, even in some of their bad games, even after like that Jacksonville game, he had them rolling afterward at the very least, in the games afterwards. So I think it would be a solid fit for Baltimore.
Yeah, if you allow 16 points in a game to an opposing team's offense, I mean, you should be winning that game 10 out of 10
that's what
times.
I'm saying.
But yeah, that was just embarrassing by the Chargers offense.
Yeah.
So, no way his fault. I think he deserves this head coaching job.
Yeah, not a bad pick here for the Baltimore Ravens by any stretch of the imagination. And a nice flip here that you had from your last hire. This guy also went to college but won a national title. So, you definitely like what you're getting with a guy like Jesse Minter. So as we keep going, the other, long-time coach, non-vacancy, I suppose. Now vacancy, we'll go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kyle, what is the face saying right
now? Okay, so from the history of the last 3 Pittsburgh head coaches, they've been defensively minded guys, kind of in their mid-30s, who didn't really have any humongous, sample sizes, but obviously it still ended up working out pretty well for them. So what I did is I just went to the other Los Angeles team and I chose their defensive coordinator. I said Chris Shula, and seeing Brennan's face, he did the exact same thing. I mean, no, it makes sense. It's Don Shula's grandson, and I understand that he said that, I don't want the last name to be an attack on my character and how I got here and how well I'm doing. But I mean, it works. He's obviously a very football forward man, which, I mean, obviously that's all of the city of Pittsburgh is. And I think he fits the mold of a Pittsburgh Steeler head coach pretty well. There's a young defensive mind like Chuck Noll before him, like Bill Cowher before him, and now like Mike Tomlin before him. I think that just makes a lot of sense. And I think as much as I would maybe want an offensively minded guy, I think the Rooneys are going to stick with the defensively minded guys. So that's just more Steeler football than anything else.
Yeah, I also said Chris Shula. I mean, I know he said that he doesn't want his last name to kind of carry any weight, but when you're dealing with a historic franchise like the Pittsburgh Steelers, people are going to see that last name and kind of associate it with the past of the NFL. I know Don Shula didn't have any kind of affiliation with the Steelers, but you get that last name in there. You go back, you think of those old Steeler teams that were so great back in the days, kind of the NFL history. Would love this hire for Pittsburgh, defensive-minded. Kind of funny enough, the other guy the Steelers brought in for an interview was his coaching teammate, Nate Scheelhaase, the passing game coordinator for the Rams as well. I think that would also be an interesting hire if you wanted to go more on the offensive side there. But he has the connection with his grandpa, Don, and I think that's a huge kind of turn on for Pittsburgh right there. defensive minded. I mean, and the other thing is he's dealt with pressure his entire life trying to live up to that last name. I know he said he doesn't want to be associated with it, but you're given that last name at birth. You kind of have these expectations, especially going into the field of football where your grandpa was probably the best NFL head coach, if not the second best, behind Bill Belichick in history. So he knows how to deal with the pressure that's going to come with being the Steelers head coach from the fans, what they're expecting, considering their 6 rings. And I think Chris Shula can handle it.
All righty. Not a bad pick there either. And I do wonder what kind of identity the Steelers are going to try to go for, going forward. I heard some people talking the other day because, of course, here in Morgantown, we still have a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers fans. People were trying to say they wanted to get Kirk Cousins on the roster. I'm like, we're doing this again? I'm like,
no,
really?
please. Please, no, I can't take any more of this.
Why are we doing this?
There's no chains in the bird, bro.
Look, I've spent the last 7 years as a Steelers fan really focusing on them to have, respectfully, old man Ben Roethlisberger, Russell Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers. And all 3 of those men should be in the Hall of Fame eventually, but not because of their play in Pittsburgh, obviously minus Roethlisberger, but the last few years, Roethlisberger could have retired after 2017.
I think what this head coach does is going to be a tale or a nice tell sign of who's really behind the mediocrity in Pittsburgh. Because if they go out and get a guy like Kirk Cousins, then you're kind of pinning it on the Rooneys there for wanting to try and compete, try and stay relevant. But if he goes out and they tank, obviously, which is what I assume most Steelers fans want at this point, then it was all Tomlin. So interesting dynamic there. We'll see who's really behind this 9 and 8 stuff as of late.
Which, by the way, I don't think he's going to be head coaching next year. Tomlin, you think? I didn't put him for.
I think he has a TV deal lined up.
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah, he would be better on TV.
Contract with the Steelers too. I don't think any team is going to want to trade an asset to Pittsburgh.
Exactly.
Like Tomlin, and with 1 year left on his contract, go sit back, relax, go to TV if you want, and then. Obviously, when he's
and you know what? Look, Brennan, there's a fine line between making wine and squashing grapes.
Exactly.
All right, halfway there, halfway to go, and as we're cutting short on time here, we'll just let you guys run through them. Brennan, we have 4 more coaching vacancies. Who do you think are going to fill each of those? And Kyle, you can say what you got after that, and I'm sure some of those are going to line up again, and we can talk about the ones you don't. Go ahead.
All right. So I'm just going to go down my list of notes here with the vacancies we haven't had yet. First one up here, the Tennessee Titans. I think Brian Daboll is going to be their next head coach. Didn't think he got a fair chance in New York outside of that first year. Give him another opportunity with the young Cam Ward. He has a great history developing QBs. With the Arizona Cardinals, we talked about them before, didn't really give a head coach. I went with Vance Joseph, the Broncos defensive coordinator. I think he really turned his career around with Sean Payton, give him another opportunity to a team where he was the head defensive coordinator from 2019 to 2022. I think it'd be an interesting hire for them. For the Atlanta Falcons, I went with Clint Kubiak of the Seattle Seahawks. I think this one is almost a gimme at this point. You have Matt Ryan working in the front office for Atlanta now, who's aggressively trying to pursue this guy. Based off of the stuff I read, the titles were basically just assuming that Kubiak was going to go to Atlanta at this point. So this might be the most shoo-in out of all of these so far. And then the Las Vegas Raiders, I went with Robert Saleh. I read a lot of teams aren't really concerned about what happened with the Jets because they're just completely dysfunctional. Everybody who coaches there doesn't have a good time. He's going to get the first overall pick, likely Fernando Mendoza. So there's your franchise quarterback. You set up a great defense. You had a great defense this year with San Francisco with all the injuries. I think it's a good hire for Las Vegas.
All right. Well, I'll go down my list, and I had some very similar names, just kind of different spots. For Tennessee, I had Matt Haas. There's my Pittsburgh coming out. It'll be House, the passing game coordinator for the Rams. For Tennessee, just a huge vibes thing. I think young guy, quarterback guru with Matt Stafford makes more sense for Cam Ward. I I had Robert Saleh at Arizona. I think I agree with you that, I mean, anyone can be the head coach for the Jets and they're still going to be losing games from the ownership wise. But he did a phenomenal job with the 49ers this year with how many injuries they sustained throughout the year, and they still are now in the divisional round. I think it's kind of incredible. For Atlanta, I had Stefanski. I think you're guessing QB on Clint makes a little bit more sense, but honestly, I think the scenario for Stefanski in Atlanta is kind of similar to Cleveland, but it's going to be a little bit better. And we talked about it earlier. You have so many good pieces on the defensive line. You have so many good pieces offensively with Bijan and Drake London and the like. The quarterback thing might be an issue with all the injuries that Penix has, but that's who. And I think Stefanski is going to get a job in this cycle, so that's where I put him. And then the one I had left, I think, was Vegas. I put Clint Kubiak for that one because I think what you saw with what he did with Sam Darnold this year, and I mean, maybe that's just Sam Darnold the last 2 years. Maybe that's him being on the Jets. But I mean, he did some very, very good things this year. Obviously, I think about that game, that Thursday night game against the Rams, where he just destroyed everyone. But I think, again, another quarterback guru who obviously is going to have the opportunity to get the first overall pick here in Vegas. And I think it's going to be probably Mendoza with Dante Moore going back in the draft, which we talk about that later. Yeah, that's where I put Clint back. I put him in Vegas.
Yeah. I like the Stefanski hire. I just couldn't really find anywhere to put him this coaching cycle. I think he does end up going back as a coordinator. And I guess the other big name that neither of us mentioned would be Brian Flores. I don't think he's getting a head coaching job with his lawsuit currently going on against the NFL. A lot of people are predicting him to get a job somewhere. I just don't think it's happening with his legal.
I think he's probably staying as a defensive coordinator, whether that's in Minnesota or somewhere else. I don't know, but he's probably staying as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah. I agree.
All righty. Well, that wraps up our discussion on the NFL head coaching vacancies. That's all 8 of them, and we've got it all covered there. So now as we move into next week here, next time you see us, we will have played NFL playoff games, more NFL playoff games. We will have played the college football championship game, and as well as the NBA All-Star starters will be announced. It's pretty clear based off of the fan returns what most of those are going to be, but those will be announced as well. Do you guys want to talk about any of these games, any hot takes on anything that's happening over the next few days?
Indiana's unstoppable. They're going to win the national championship. NFL divisional round should be fun. I guess I'll run through those picks. Let's see. First game, Bills-Broncos. I'm obviously taking my Bills to go into Denver and win. Niners, Seahawks, give me Seattle. That defense is amazing. Niners are too depleted. Then we go, what is it? Is it Rams, Panthers next game, or is it that Pats, Texans?
Rams, Bears.
Rams, Bears. Sorry. Give me Los Angeles, Matt Stafford, experienced quarterback. That offense is humming right now. And then finally, the Texans and the Patriots. I would say Patriots. It's going to be probably the worst game of that slate. That game legitimately could end 6-3. But give me the Pats just because they're at home. If Houston was playing at home, I would say Houston.
Dude. Okay.
Before we go to Kyle, just to clear the air, Texans-Patriots will be first on Sunday. That's a 3 o'clock game, followed by Rams-Bears at 6:30. Kyle, go ahead.
I want to do a complete about face on the Texans game there because, dude, I was watching that game very obviously until the third quarter, or I guess the fourth quarter. Because, by the way, that game was 7-6 at the start of the fourth quarter. So, I mean, you can talk about that all you want.
Look, I'm not saying that the Texans have the best defense in the NFL. That's a fact. Like, no one's going to try
those guys. I think I described them while I was watching them. I described them as piranhas because they were everywhere and they were feisty. They were getting up behind the line of scrimmage, tackling Kenneth Gainwell and Jalen Warren. They were blowing up receivers left and right. They blew up Aaron Rodgers for a defensive touchdown. Like, they were everywhere on the field last night. And honestly, I like New England. I think they've done a very good job this year. But Houston is where it's at, and
I would take Houston in that game.
I would take Houston over them. Yeah.
How just slow and awful the amount of 3 turnovers against Pittsburgh early in that game. Like their offense was nothing, and they were still able to just absolutely dominate whenever it counted. And
it's a very coin tossy game for me. I just like New England being at home. But you also got to remember what their defense did to the Chargers. I mean, the Texans don't have the greatest offense. Okay.
Respectfully, put me in a New England uniform. I'm touching Justin Herbert at least once. I'm getting to him at least once during that game, okay? Their offensive line, I think if you looked at each of their individual rankings, it was like last.
I don't think it's like this elite. New England can definitely get pressure, and if the Steelers Steelers have a very good defense. New England has a better defense than Pittsburgh right now, I'd say. Come on.
No, I disagree. I think they're about equal, but I think New England's a little better. And they showed that this year. They got to Ramondre Stevenson like 4 times. He fumbled the ball like 3 times. It was crazy.
You know who the Patriots lost to in week 3? You know the Patriots lost to in week 1 or week 2?
Okay. We are losing the plot. We are losing the plot.
Back-to-back games to the Steelers and the Raiders. Like, I don't think anything from that first month of the season with New England.
We are losing the plot.
Because the Bills had a 99% chance to win the division after those first 4 weeks.
Yes. Okay. If I can give the rest of my opinions on the rest of these games.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Chicago over the Rams because I think that they are rolling. I have family in Chicago. There's some good juju there. I like the Rams, obviously. I want their defensive coordinator. But the way that they came back in that game, I think, was very, very awesome, and it was a great watch. So I'll take the Bears over the Rams, and then I think I am going to take Buffalo over Denver as well. There's just the inexperience in the playoffs. I don't really trust Bo Nix, and I don't think that offense is going to be able to hold up at all. And then, hang on. What was the last one? That was
it was Niners Seahawks.
I'll take the Seahawks on that one, but that's going to be a good game too.
Yeah, I saw a stat somewhere, and someone can correct me if it's true. Bo Nix, I believe, is like 1-8 when he's playing a team with a winning record, and that said team scores 17 plus points.
17.
Interesting. Hey, I mean, you got a solid Denver defense, and you got
that one win. That one win was against Green Bay this year when Micah Parsons went down.
Yeah.
So
hey, we will talk. We will talk next week whenever the Denver Broncos absolutely dismantle the Buffalo Bills, and we'll see who's crying next week.
Scott, who's your national championship pick?
Indiana. I mean,
they're gonna steamroll.
Of course,
I don't.
I'm shocked that Miami is here. And it's
gonna be cool.
Good.
It's gonna be cool.
I just think the way you've seen Indiana play these teams, it's like the same thing in March Madness. Like you see all these teams, like maybe they'll squeak by some inferior competition, then they end up getting eliminated. The team that always wins March Madness is the team that is constantly blowing out teams, just steamrolling everybody. And that's Indiana this year in football. So
it may be interesting because the game is in Miami, right? It's literally in the home stadium in Miami. That might be interesting, but dude, there's no reason for anyone with half a brain to not trust Indiana right now. Like
I don't even necessarily agree with that, with Miami having a home game, because what fans do Miami have that actually go to those games to begin with? Because that stadium is like a solid 30
minutes. It's going to encourage some more people
away from that campus.
It is.
But Indiana should.
Indiana for sure.
Well, even if it's close, Indiana's
we will all be collectively shocked if that doesn't happen. But we will see you next week to give you those reactions if it happens. So that's going to do it for the Banter Ball podcast today. We will see you next Friday. In the meantime, you can follow us on all of our social platforms: Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. That's going to do it for today's show. Any closing remarks, Brennan or Kyle? You guys got any exciting projects coming up?
Go Bills.
I am rooting for the Bears.